Hey, what's up? It's Kyle. So I just wanted to start off by saying it's my first live, so bear with me here. I might get a little sidetracked, stuttery, emotional, whatever. It's gonna happen. And I'm gonna tell you a little bit about what kind of journey I've been on for the past 2 years, where I'm at now, where I was, and where I plan to go. So anyways, about track back about 2 years ago, I put myself about $100,000 in debt. I own about four brand new vehicles over 4 years. Not the smartest decision, I know. And I ended up driving myself into a lot of debt. And I was kind of living high on the hog and not saving any money because money was good, you know. And I was working in the trade, so in the oil field, and it was good, or I thought it was. Anyways, I never saved any money and ended up oil the price of oil went down and just couldn't get a job for a while and ended up spending all my like what little bit of savings that I did have and drove myself into all that debt. So basically over the last 2 years I've managed to crawl out from under all of that debt just through hard work and making some sacrifices. I voluntarily surrendered my vehicle, so they came and repossessed it. I got a huge credit hit, and I managed to recover it pretty fast. It only took about a year to recover, and everything's going good now. And this year, I'm up to almost about $20,000 in savings. And the one year last, not this year, but the year before, here I wasn't working. I actually took the whole year off and went traveling across Canada on my credit card just to see if I could figure out where I wanted to go, what I wanted to be when I grew up, you know? So, anyways, I got out from underneath all that debt, and the only way I did it was because I had to change my mindset. I went from thinking about pleasure all the time and solving that, temporary unhappiness by buying things and doing that whole thing. Well, just I got rid of it. I had to change my focus and get into thinking long term, right? And it was a really hard thing for me to do because myself, like, I get sidetracked really easily, so it's really hard for me to kind of stay and focus on one thing. So it was a lot of work, but shifting that gear and mindset into long term and focusing on happiness, long term happiness, rather than the short term gains is hugely beneficial. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because mindset seems to be one of the most important things in business and life that people don't really talk about that often. I mean, there are a few podcasts. One of them I listen to is actually called "Achieving Your Goals" with Hal Elrod, and it's really good stuff. Lots of gold in there. I suggest you check it out. Anyways, I haven't had any massive amounts of success. I'm not making tons of money on the internet yet, but I'm trying. I'm getting there. I've made about 150 bucks in commissions so far, so I guess that's okay. But I can't really call, like, I can call that what I went through the last 2 years like a huge success because I'm not the same person that I was back then. I've changed completely. I've stopped drinking. I've stopped partying. Really, I focus most of my time on my business. I still work a full-time job. I'm laid off right now until about March, but when I go back, I'll still be plugging away at all this stuff as well, right? Anyways, I want to talk about what is going to be, or what it is to be successful in life and in business, because I think they're both closely related. I don't have a lot of business success yet, but I think I have a lot of life success. And people all want to be successful in life, whether or not it's in like life or business. And there's the three categories, right? There's health, wealth, and relationships. And we need to prioritize which one of those we want to tackle first, right? You got to think about it like spinning plates. You kind of get one going and it's going and you're watching it and you get it good. But as soon as you move on to that second plate, this one starts to wobble. And then you got to get onto the third plate. And how are you supposed to hold three sticks, right? A lot of people don't know how to do it. And personally, I'm still trying to figure it out. So we got to pick one of those things to start with, and that's going to be our priority, right? But your priorities can change. Over time, what's going to happen is things are going to come up and you're going to need to shift gears for a little while, focus your priorities somewhere else and get that other plate spinning again, right? Because after a while, they all start to come down. And so what can we do to do that is we have to stop comparing ourselves to other people's success. It's the number one thing. What ends up happening a lot of times is we get down because, so and so is so much farther ahead than we are, or, somebody's doing the same thing as you is a lot better at it, or they got their results faster than you did, or whatever, right? You got to stop focusing on that and figure out what path you're on and how you're going to get there, right? I know I've done it myself many times. I compare myself to somebody else and I get depressed and I quit, right? And you're probably guilty of this too. So what do you think is more effective, to compare yourself to somebody else or to compare yourself to how far that you've come? That's why I look back at the next 2 years and, even though I'm sitting here in my mom's friggin' living room, right, recording this video for you guys, I still call myself a success. It's not about where you're going or where you want to be until you figured out where you are and where you've come from, because success is measured in is measured in teaspoons. You got to plan your goals as far ahead as you can, and I'm talking decades, like where you want to be in 20 years. More importantly, where do you want to see yourself? Who do you want to be? What are your values? Anxiety comes in when we don't have clear baby steps towards our goals. So now you got to take that 20 years and you got to break it down into 2 decades. And after that, you got to break it down into your 5-year goals. What are your 1-year goals? What are your goals for today that are going to keep you on track for that 20-year goal down the road? Now, the thing about setting goals that you got to realize is that the purpose of a goal is not to achieve it. It's to achieve the transformation that gets you there in the first place. They're there to hone in your focus and to keep you going. When you get close to your goals, you want to push back that finish line so you can keep going, so you can keep striving for more, because happiness comes from progress. If you don't feel like you're progressing, you're not going to be able to ultimately be as happy as you want, because you're going to be thinking about the grass being greener on the other side of the fence, right? So, what could you be doing right now? What decisions can you make today to keep yourself on track for who you want to be, where you want to be financially, mentally, in your love life, your health, whatever it is? You got to learn to ask yourself the right questions, right? How do you want to be? You're not your job title. You're a complex system of accumulated decisions. What are your values? When something bad happens, we always tend to ask the same question, like, why did this happen to me? This can send you down the negative rabbit hole pretty quickly, and it ends up usually in bad decisions. I know, because I've made a lot of them. You go out drinking with your friends to try and forget your troubles all the time. It's okay to party once in a while, but you got to remember that that isn't solving your problem. It's only going to compound the way you feel about yourself already. So we're all like too quick to beat ourselves up about that kind of stuff. Every time something goes wrong for us, we tend to forget that we need to embrace that adversity. That is a chance for growth right there. We need to tackle it head on so that we can grow from that situation. The greatest growth we can ever achieve usually comes from facing great adversity. Blech. There's a stumble. First live. The greatest growth we can ever achieve usually comes from facing great adversity with an open mind. So the next time something happens to you, what's your first response going to be? What can I learn from this experience, and how am I going to solve this? Should be the first questions you ask yourself, right? And the other thing I want to talk about is changing your perspective. Here's a parable about 3 bricklayers that I heard actually in one of Hal's podcasts. A traveler comes across 3 bricklayers and he asks the first one, "What are you doing?" The first one replies, "I'm laying bricks." The traveler goes up to the second bricklayer and he asks the same question. The second bricklayer replies, "I'm building a wall." The traveler asks the third bricklayer, "What are you doing?" The third bricklayer stands up and he says with pride, "I'm building a cathedral so that people and their families can come together and gather and be a community." Now, I'm not a religious person at all, but you can do great things. Anybody can have like a normal job and still achieve great things and have purpose and meaning in their lives. A real life example of this is when JFK went to NASA. He passed a janitor washing the floor in the hallway. He asked the janitor, "What are you doing?" The janitor smiles and replies to him, "I'm helping send a man to the moon." If you ask me, that third bricklayer and the janitor had an exceptional mindset, because perspective is everything. Pleasure is short term and happiness is long term. What I mean by this is pretty simple. We pursue pleasure daily. It could be watching Netflix on TV, going to Starbucks for that delicious peppermint mocha. I know it's my guilty pleasure. Or lays around on a Sunday afternoon. It's only temporary and it doesn't solve anything. It satisfies you for the moment, but you never really get anywhere, right? Is that going to help you attain your goals? Probably not. It might help you keep your sanity for a while, but we tend to go overboard on these things and end up not doing a whole lot. If we do things that move us towards happiness, we're less likely to end up stagnant and staying in one place. And how do we do this, right? Like, we don't only want to enrich our own lives, but we achieve it by enriching the lives of those around us. Like everyone loves being right, right? So how would you feel if you used the skills you had to help people? For monetary gain or not, when people ask you for advice or for help, that's the same thing as being right, isn't it? I love it when people ask me for help. It gives me a huge ego boost. Now, I'm not saying that you can't enjoy pleasurable things, especially when you need a break from saving the world once in a while, but just make sure that you stay on track for your goals. Because, if you start straying away from your goals, you're just you're just sitting there. You're not doing anything. You're not gonna achieve anything that is going to give you everlasting happiness, because as everybody always says, and I know it's super cliche, it's not the destination, it's the journey. It's how you get there that matters. And one last thing I want to talk about too is actually another good quote is: a wilting flower does not cause suffering. It's our expectations that the flower will not wilt that causes our suffering. Listen to Kyle, he's getting all prophetic and stuff, right? Now, I'm just trying to provide an example that will stick with you. Nothing lasts forever, so don't sit there thinking that it will. Enjoy it in the moment while it lasts and appreciate it for what it is. It may sound a bit contradictory to what I said above, but I never said happiness lasted forever. Um, if you were happy all the time, would you really be happy? How would you know? You're the one in control of your life. And sometimes our outside circumstances, yeah, they can change your circumstances and they can change the course of your life, but that accounts for a very small percentage of it. So let's stack the deck in our favor by taking small, actionable steps towards our goals at least every day. Don't go planning it out to the minute and leave some wiggle room in there because you don't want to frustrate yourself because you're not doing much. I know that rabbit hole pretty well too, because sometimes I set these lofty goals and I sit there and I think and I think and I think and I don't actually do anything. It took me 25 minutes to press the button to go live for this freaking thing. So don't beat yourself up about it if you get off track, and just make small adjustments until you get there. Deadlines and goals aren't set in stone. They're just an idea of where you want to be. Instead of watching TV 4 hours a night before bed, work on your goals for 3 hours and then watch TV. Create a new routine and take baby steps and see how much changes, because you can radically change your life in 5 years. The only reason why I know this to be true is because what I said earlier and what I've accomplished in the past 2 years. I crawled out from under $100,000 in debt while learning a new skill and saving almost $20,000. Money wasn't the biggest contributing factor to that. Sacrifice was. Eating at home, voluntary surrendering my vehicle, and watching my spending were the biggest contributing factors. It's pretty simple, isn't it? Like, when you think about it, I changed my mindset from acquiring pleasurable things to setting myself up for future happiness. And it's compounded, it's stacked, it adds up over time, because these small progressions that you see in your success, as you get there, you start getting that big shit eating grin on your face, and it gets bigger, man. Trust me. Um, could you imagine how miserable I'd be if I was still struggling to pay off all that debt? I just ripped the band-aid off, got rid of it, dealt with it, and then you start working on something real, something tangible, and something that lasts. I can't wait to see where the next 3 years take me, because it's only been 2 out of those 5. So where are the next 5 going to take you, right? That's it for now. I mean, if you want something inspiring to listen to, I strongly suggest the Hal Elrod Achieving Your Goals podcast. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but I support the messages that they're sending. I literally get all teary and choked up on a daily basis when I listen to them because it really hits home. So work on improving your mindset before you start trying to work on all these outside things, because you're not going to get anywhere if you can't get your mind right. Peace.